All right, hey, we're back. Nonno's Kitchen's back. Holy shit, Nonno's back. So, tonight, as I was going to the grocery store, I had a hankering for some beef stroganoff, but I'm not paying that for beef right now. So, I'm taking a recipe I found, and I'm going to use pork instead. A couple substitutions because Nonno also doesn't have any Dijon mustard. So, my buddy Brian Cuddy from Buffalo had given me this Weber's brand horseradish prepared mustard. That's going in tonight instead. And instead of using 1.5 pounds of stew meat, I'm going to use 2.5 pounds of pork loin. Just bought a pork loin and cut it up, cubed it up, tossed it in about 3 tablespoons of flour. We got in here, we got, well, you don't got anything in here. Tablespoon of salted butter and some tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm going to sear this stuff off in batches. One of the things that I really had to get used to as I started cooking more and more was not being afraid of heat. So I get a good sear on my meat. So start the oven. So this is not Grandma's stroganoff. This is Nonno's stroganoff. So we're going to start searing off this meat, and I'll be back, and then we're going to see how this turns out. All right, pork is seared off. That's flavor. Lots of flavor. Free flavor, as my friend Lou would say. So, and now I gotta take care of the onions and the mushrooms. I'm gonna use 1 pound of mushrooms. 2 medium onions. Calls for a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. Do all this. Tablespoon of olive oil. Measure carefully, as you can see. So I'm gonna let that get nice and hot. Stir it up. All we're going to do with these mushrooms and onions is just cook them long enough for them to get soft. Mushrooms let out a lot of juice. But again, this is where you get the build flavor. So I bought the mushrooms and sliced them up myself. You can buy them sliced if you want. If you buy them sliced, sometimes they're a little thicker than you want. So there's really no time on this. I'm going to simply cook this down in here. There we go, that deliciousness. We're going to cook this down till it's nice and soft. Once I do that, I'll be back. Alright, so got the mushrooms and the onions all softened. I'm going to pull these right now. And I'm going to set these aside. And then I'm going to take 6 cups of beef stock, beef broth. I chose to use beef broth in this recipe. I'm going to slowly add that into this pot, and then I'm going to scrape up, as my buddy Lou says, all that deliciousness, all that free flavor. Really can't overstate how much deglazing can really add a lot of flavor to your pan, and that's all free flavor. I didn't pay for that. A little bit of flour, and that gave me some goodness to scrape up from the bottom of this pan. So 6 cups of broth. The other thing I've learned in the kitchen: get all your shit together before you start cooking. Prepping and cooking at the same time is really challenging. So slow. Pour that in, and then we're going to scrape this up, and I'll be back. All right, got the goodness scraped up off the bottom. So back into the pool. Go mushrooms and onions. Love my stainless steel bowls. They're awesome because when I'm using them in the kitchen for prepping meat, it holds the chill. So we're going to get all this meat back in. Again, I used pork, not beef. I used 1 pound more meat than the recipe called for. I don't care. I like meat. Now, I'm going to add in some Worcestershire sauce, about 3 tablespoons. As you can tell, I measure very carefully. That goes in. And then I'm going to add in, don't have Dijon, so I'm going to add in about a tablespoon and a half of this. Mustard, Weber's. You can only get it in Buffalo, apparently. Whatever Brian tells me, I'll believe. So, it's delicious. It's got the horseradish, so it's got a little kick in there. Got to put in some pepper, about a half a teaspoon. Careful measuring in my kitchen. Gotta find my spoon. I'm gonna stir all this in here. I'm also gonna put in some fresh thyme. You can use dry if you want. And this is a little change in this. I've made this with beef before, but the change in the recipe is usually you just add in some sour cream, let it thicken up, and away you go. So we're gonna throw some fresh thyme in here. Stir that in, a little extra time. But here's the difference. This is 4 ounces of cream cheese, full fat, none of that light stuff. Use the full fat. That's the flavor. We're gonna stir it in there. It'll melt down. This is gonna go in the oven for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm gonna go about an hour and 40, hour 45. It's gonna be covered in a 350 oven. Just stirring this up. The sour cream doesn't go until the very end. But at about an hour and 40 minutes or so, I'm going to put in 12 ounces of egg noodles, put it back in the oven, and let it bake off. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, so I pulled this out of the Dutch oven, out of the oven, about 90 minutes, and fished out, I hope I fished out all of my thyme sprigs. I didn't tie them together. This is about, it calls for about 12 ounces of egg noodles. This is about 13. I'm just going to dump those in there. We're going to stir this up. This is going to go back in the oven 25-30 minutes. I'll cover it up, and I may need to add a little more beef broth just to cover this up if I can't get this mixed in here well enough. And then we're going to cook it for half an hour, 25 minutes, half hour. There's a couple more ingredients to add, and I'll be back once we're through our half hour cook time. All right, we're pulling this out of the oven. About 25 minutes in on the noodles. So the next step is to not touch anything hot, not a hot pad. Next step is to take about a cup of this liquid that's in here, which can be challenging because there's all the noodles and stuff. So this is about a half cup scoop. So take about a cup of this liquid. I'm going to take a tablespoon of tomato paste. We're going to mix that up a little bit to smooth it out. Let it blend. And then I'm going to take 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. Again, full fat. None of that unleaded stuff. And we're going to fold this in. So we're going to fold this in to the mixture. Let it get all mixed in there. This is then going to go into that there pot, which is really full. So we got this mixture, sour cream, a little bit of the liquid, and a tablespoon of tomato paste. Almost forgot what I put in there. Earlier, when I was mixing stuff together, I forgot to put in the garlic. So I used granulated garlic, about a teaspoon of it, mixed it in, maybe about 10 minutes into cooking. Realized I had forgotten to do that. So, being Italian, gotta always have garlic in your cooking. So now I'm just gonna fold this in, let it get nice and mixed, and serve it up with some green beans tonight. We'll be back with final picture. All right, so what we have here is the stroganoff. Used a recipe that I've used for beef stroganoff, but I substituted pork loin for this one. A little less expensive. Some green beans, and had to do a couple of, well, did one sub. Didn't have any Dijon mustard, but always yummy to have this on a cold or chilly Wisconsin winter evening.